Okay, so um, previously we looked at this problem and we worked out the main effects, right? Here you have how many main effects based on this data. Now, I'm also going to ask you questions like this, but I'm going to ask how many two-way interactions do we have? Now, let me briefly explain what a two-way interaction is. So, a two-way interaction is the impact of one IV and a second IV on the DV. So how do these two combine to impact the DV? Now, because we have more than two IVs in the study design, we have to think about all possible interactions, right? In the previous examples we have, I reviewed, there was only two IVs when looking for interactions, like in your studies, you only had two IVs. So the interactions were just between those two IVs. Now we have three possible interactions. So let me go ahead and label these again. So here and here, we have the sex IV. Here and here, right? We have the time IV. It doesn't matter what you call it. I could even call it A, B. That does not look like a B. C, right? But this would be more like the caffeine IV. So you don't even have to get too, don't get caught up on that, like naming the IVs. You should just know, okay, these are the IVs. I see the levels. Okay. So we have three IVs. And let me show you the possible combinations of two, right? So we can have sex by time, sex by caffeine, and then time by caffeine, right? These are all the possible two-way interactions, right? Two-way interactions because we have two IVs. A three-way interaction would be all of them. But I'm not asking that. I'm asking how many two-way interactions do we have? I'm actually not going to ask you for three-way interactions based on this kind of data just because it's too much, right? We're going to focus on just two-way interactions. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Actually, I'm going to not erase that. I'm going to erase some of this and these markings because I'm actually going to keep the list of two-way interactions I made as best as I can. Okay, the first step I would say is do this. You don't do this when you're doing the main effects. Remember that. You do this when you're looking for the two-way interactions based on the data I give you. So you figure out what are the possible combinations. Then you have to create new tables for each one. So let me just go ahead and do that for the first one. So, okay, so we have male, female, and we have time, morning. Okay, I'm running into the edge. Let me move this. And afternoon. Right, so I've recreated a new table that only has these two IVs. Okay, it doesn't matter where you put them. Like here, I put the sex IV here, and I put time here. You could flip it. It doesn't matter how you do it, but you just have to be careful that you're getting the right numbers. Okay. Let's see. Let me fit this into the screen. Okay. So now I have to get new numbers that go here, here, and here, and here. Okay. So based on this data over here, we have to calculate these new averages. So you might be asking, well, what averages are you talking about? Okay. Well, here we have male participants in the morning. You have to find every cell that had male participants in the morning, then average them out. Okay. These are all male participants. And here's morning. Morning, morning. Kind of blocked those numbers out. It was a 10 and a 2, right? So you're looking for any cell that satisfies the criteria of being in the morning and being male. 10 plus 2 divided by 2 will give us 6. Okay. Now, morning and female. Okay. Here's female. Here's morning. Morning, morning, female. So 5 plus 11 gives us 16. Divided by 2 gives us 8. Now, I'm doing this in my head, but you can use a calculator. You can use your computer. It's fine, right? So keep that in mind. You don't have to worry about doing this as quickly as I'm doing it or as slowly for some of you. Some of you can do it a lot faster than I am. But I would say don't rush. Okay. Now we need to get a new average for afternoon and male. So here we have male, afternoon. That gives us another 6. And then female afternoon, which is here, right? Which gives us another 8. Okay. Now we have the numbers in a 2 by 2 table. Great. The next and final step to check if there's an interaction between sex and time is subtracting. Okay. Some of you already know what the answer is, but let's work it out. Okay. I'm going to go this way. Remember, you have to choose a direction to subtract and then do that for both sides. So 6 minus 8, negative 2. 6 minus 8, negative 2. Same number. So there is no two-way interaction between between sex and time. So I'll just put an X there to remind me. Okay, next one. I'm going to keep sex on the same side. And caffeine is the other one. Regular cup, decaf. Okay, let's go through this. So regular cup and male. Okay, so let me erase those notes because they actually get in the way a little bit. And let's see if I can make that bigger. Give me a second. Okay, that's better. Okay, so now we're looking for regular cup and male. Remember, we have to look for cells that satisfy both of those requirements. So regular cup is here and here, but we only want the male participants. That's here, right there. So it's 10 and 2. That's going to give us a 6. And then we want regular cup and female. Here's female. Here's regular cup. 5 plus 11, 6 gives us 8. Right, so you're going to get similar numbers. Okay, so I know there's going to be an abrupt cut there. Can't really fix that. I'm on an iPad. So at first this was throwing me off because the numbers were coming out similar, but actually it just works out that way. So don't let that throw you off, right? The numbers are kind of work out the same. It's not going to happen every time. In this case, it does just because, as you can see the numbers here, they're kind of inverses of each other, right? So just keep that in mind. Okay, so let me go back to where I was. Okay, so now we're on decaf male. So here and here, that gives us a 6. And decaf female here and here, and that will also give us an 8, right? So I don't even have to work this out because they're exactly the same numbers. It kind of just works out that way this time. It's not always going to work out that way. But just as a reminder, again, you subtract, I would say down, just to keep it consistent. You're going to get -2 and -2. There is no two-way interaction between sex and caffeine content. So let's do the last one. I'm going to put an X here just to remind us. Let me go ahead and erase my recent markings. Hopefully oh, nope, I don't want that. So, okay, so let's move over to the last one. So now we're looking at time and caffeine. Okay, so let me do that here. And I'm going to do morning and afternoon. And do caffeine. Regular cup and decaf. Okay, so morning, regular cup. Let's bring this down a little bit. Let me change to a highlighter. Okay, morning and regular cup. It's kind of broken up. You see that? Let me get a different highlighter. Here's morning. Here's regular cup of coffee, right? So this time they're kind of split across the two tables. So you have to be sure you're looking at the right place. This might happen for any of the two-way interactions you're looking at. There's really no way to determine it, but you are going to see this happen. You just have to make sure you're keeping track of the correct numbers, right? So 10 plus 5 gives us 15, 7.5. Okay, so now we're looking at morning decaf. Let me change to a different highlighter. Morning decaf, right? Here's decaf. Here's morning. So now we're doing 11 plus 2 divided by 2. So 13, 6.5. And then let's go ahead and look for afternoon regular cup. Here it is, and here it is, right? Just to show you again where I'm looking. Here's regular cup. I don't know if you can see that. And here is afternoon and afternoon. So 2 plus 3, we just did this calculation. It's going to give us a 6.5. I'm not purposely doing different colors. I just end up choosing a different one each time. So just keep that in mind. Don't worry about the different colors I'm using here. Okay, last one. Afternoon and decaf. Well, that's here and that's here. 10 plus 5 divided by 2. So 15 divided by 2. It's going to be 7.5 again. So let's go ahead and subtract. So 7.5 minus 6.5 gives us a 1, right? I'm subtracting this way. Now, pay attention. 6.5 minus 7.5 gives us a negative, right? I'm going this way. So here we have a positive. Here we have a negative. They are different numbers. We have an interaction for time and caffeine. Now, you might have done this and been like, well, okay, well, I'm doing this. I'm not finding anything. There's probably not going to be an interaction for that last one. Wrong. Work it out all the way, right? If you get confused, because I kind of got confused when I was like, wait, these are the same numbers. It's just coincidentally we're getting the same numbers. Take some time, go back, check your work, then come back to it. So if I asked you, here I have main effects, but if I asked you, like we worked out here, interactions, you would work all this out, right? And find that there's one two-way interaction, and that's the answer you would pick, right? So there's all this work just for this one answer, and that's how much work it does take. So I am going to make these questions worth more points because of how much work it takes to work these out. So keep that in mind. You see something like this and that looks simple, but pay attention to how many points that question is worth. Take your time, triple check your answers for that question. If you get confused, you know what? Come back to it later. Take a tiny break, check your work, get back to it, and again, just triple, quadruple check your work to make sure you're doing it correctly. Now again, if you kind of get lost when I'm walking through this, reach out to me. This is the type of thing I can't really explain over email. I have to show it to you. I have to work through it with you. So ideally, we should meet for this. I know a lot of people don't want to meet with the professor. It doesn't mean you've done anything wrong. It doesn't mean you don't know it. You're not supposed to know it right away, right? It just means we're getting together to work this out. I'm not as scary as I look in my photos, I swear. But I'm here to help you, right? So reach out if you have any questions at all about what I did here.